Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of my Become Unstoppable series. And as usual, I have another amazing guest for you. Her name is Maria and she is a manifesting queen. So here she is. Hello my lovely, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Really good to see
Yeah,
you.
you
So
too.
we actually met, didn't we, at one of Adam Stott's speaker academies, didn't we? Quite a while ago now.
Yeah, ages ago, and it's been amazing to see your journey and how you're doing. And yeah, it's just nice to be around really like-minded people who are
Sure.
constantly pushing like for the best in themselves.
Absolutely. And likewise with you. I've been following you as well. And before we carry on anymore, do you want to just introduce yourself, my lovely, and let them know everyone what you do?
Absolutely. So, hello everyone watching or watching on replay. I'm Maria, sometimes go by Maria Therese, which is actually my middle name. And I'm a mindset and manifestation coach and unconscious mind therapist. So I work with female entrepreneurs mainly in slaying their subconscious, eradicating the subconscious beliefs of I'm not good enough that literally are keeping you frozen and in survival mode, because you can't move forward, you can't manifest when you're in survival mode. So yeah, I love what I do. I know it's quite similar to you, slightly different, but the skill set is just as powerful, isn't it?
It is completely powerful, you know, and it's that subconscious mind part, isn't it, where we are our subconscious mind, our body is our subconscious mind. But anyway, before we get into that, because I know we're going to be talking for England today. But before we do that, and before I forget with my menopausal brain, I'm going to ask you my very famous question, my lovely. So, what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Amazing question. So unstoppable to me is when you have this desire that is burning in your heart. Most people, 99% of people, ignore it. When you can listen to this desire, tap into your intuition, and you think, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to listen to the nudges and take the moves to move forward in your life, to literally follow the desire, which is your roadmap to what you want to do. That is being unstoppable. You're going to face challenges along the way. That's normal. But when you listen, you keep tapping into your intuition, you keep moving forward. To me, that is being completely unstoppable, because most people don't do it, and it's so sad.
I know. I hear you, darling. I hear you. And that's the thing. I love that answer, by the way. I think that's amazing. And being a new entrepreneur like you and I both are, you want to kind of do this, and you want to break away from the 9 to 5, don't you? And become unstoppable. But it isn't always easy, and you have to make a lot of changes in your life. But nothing worth having comes without a little bit of a struggle, does it? It's about really digging deep and finding in fact, it's about really digging deep to find out what you can do, because you don't really know, do you, until you really, really push yourself.
I absolutely agree with you. It's getting out of your comfort zone. And I describe the comfort zone, and I don't know if you agree, it's like this U shape. And you start here and you're like, yes, everything's going to be so easy. I've got this. And then you start to go down as you get more out of your comfort zone. You hit the dooms of despair, and then you pick yourself up. And I feel like you have to hit the low point. You have to have the challenges, like you said, to really appreciate the good times.
For sure. So how did you end up being a successful mindset and manifestation queen then, my lovely? How did you get to where you are now?
So I actually worked as a head of department teaching history for 10 years, and I actually really loved my job. And I know a lot of teachers do love their jobs, but there's a lot of admin work in schools, that people behind the scenes, things that people don't see. And I loved my job, but I actually started to be able to do it, and it became quite easy, and there was no challenge. And I loved working with the students, but there was something more. There was like this intuition inside of me saying, there's got to be more. And I started moaning a little bit. I think I was bored, to be honest. And I started moaning. I was going home and I started moaning to my husband a little bit more. And then, you know, when you get into a spiral, and one thing happens and another thing happens. So I was driving to work one day, and as I was driving to work, I stopped at the gates to get in, and this car literally reversed into the back of my car. And then that spiraled this whole anxiety about trying to fix the car. And I know it sounds might sound silly, but trying to get this car fixed and doing this and I couldn't sleep. It was really stressing me out. And I thought to myself, this went on for 2 weeks, and I was literally repeating myself on a cycle, and I thought to myself, hold on, I can either stay here or I can do something about it. And I feel like the universe is giving me all these signs and I was ignoring them.
Yeah.
And then like, this was the last sign where I was like, actually, I really want more. Not that teaching is amazing. I've got some amazing friends that are teachers, and it is fulfilling, and working with students is fulfilling, but I wanted something different, and I really wanted to work with adults. And it was just like this calling, this kind of, I love mindset anyway, but that goes back to an earlier part of my life. And I feel like it's just like a build up to where I got to this stage, and I was like, well, actually, I want more freedom to travel. I want more freedom to be able to do other stuff. So like last week we went to Austria, which was incredible. In November we booked to go to I think we're going to Switzerland. So having that time freedom, otherwise you're stuck to the school holidays. And I'm not complaining for anyone listening to this who thinks you've got so many weeks off a year. Teachers do, I totally get that, but it's nice to be able to travel a little bit more in term time,
I suppose, isn't it? It's having the control of when you go, whereas yes, you get lots of holidays, but it's only certain, you can't go when you want to go, can you, basically? No,
not at all. And I feel like unless you're in a school, you don't really understand the pressures of a school. I guess it's like corporate. I know you were in corporate, weren't you?
Yeah.
You don't, you'd have different pressures to what I have, and I wouldn't fully understand them because I haven't done it.
Absolutely. I mean, in most jobs there's pressures. I mean, one of my clients I was talking to yesterday, she's a chef, and she said that the pressure there is just phenomenal when they've got like a full restaurant, and you know, the pressures of having to get all those services out there and screaming and shouting. She said it's just so full on all the time. But again, we wouldn't know that because we don't work in that environment. She's on her feet all the time as well, you know. So I worked in some really stressful environments, and I was on my arse most of the time. That's all right because I could sit down, but it was the mental stuff. I wasn't on my feet. Yeah, definitely. But then again, it was all the, you know, I'd leave the house at 7 o'clock in the morning, hour and a half each way travel, do your job, get home at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and then your life just carried on, didn't it? When you got home, sort the kids out, it's just like a merry-go-round, isn't it? Or you just can't get off, you can't stop. And that's when the stress and overwhelm really, really kicks in, isn't it? When you're like, I mean, I don't know about you, but until I started doing all my training and learning to be present and to be at one with yourself and embodiment, releasing your feelings and emotions, I didn't do any of that at all. Didn't even cross my mind. And I think that's a big issue for most people, isn't it? I mean, when we speak, we're kind of on the same wavelength because we've done similar training, and a lot of people that I hang around with are either in the business world, like training, so they've got that mindset of wanting to change, or in my therapy world, they've all got, you know, they're all therapists, but you forget that you're at a different level. So when you're talking to other people in the outside world, they don't know a fraction about it, do they? A lot of people. And it's remembering that we are in kind of like an elitist group, I guess, that we do actually have an awareness of the mindset and belief systems and all that kind of thing.
It's when you start talking, I do a lot of work on the energetics of money, because money is simply energy. And one of the biggest blockers is people's beliefs around money. And it was a massive blocker for me. I used to stress about going out for dinners. I used to worry about money all the time, and it's come from conditioning from as I was growing up.
Absolutely.
And so what I do a lot of work with now is removing the money blocks, because energetic about money, most people don't know about it. Most people look at me and think I'm cuckoo, and I'm like, everything's energy. Like, money is simply energy, and when you can be on the same frequency as money, you will attract more of it into your life. And most people will look at you and go, like, what are you talking about? Because you're right, unless you're you're in the world where you're aware of it, and as so many people are, I didn't used to think about that. I had no idea that money was energy. I had no idea that everything was energy. It's like living on a hamster wheel, and you're just doing the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. And when you kind of go to do your own thing, you realise obviously you have new challenges, but it's kind of powerful. It's kind of invigorating that you see things in a different way.
Oh, absolutely. When I look back now at my old existence, if you like, it's just, I don't even recognise myself. And also going through the menopause as well, until I started retraining myself, I didn't realise that I was going through a lot of it. And you had that whole feeling of being lost, not knowing who you are anymore, lost your identity. And it's quite frightening. I mean, I'm a lot older than you, so you probably haven't been through that yet. But I mean, I was watching something on BBC Breakfast this morning, actually, and there was a lady on there who was saying that she nearly took her own life over it because she just couldn't cope with it anymore. And I just think we need people out there making not just the menopause an awareness, but just the fact that there is something else. We can actually make changes and become unstoppable at any time, can't we? It's just making that effort to acknowledge that you want to make changes, and also investing. You have to invest in your self-development. Now, I know you've heavily invested in your self-development, as I have and still am, and in business coaching, because I didn't know how to set a business up. And we were talking earlier, weren't we, about how hard it is to actually find your who, to find your niche, because we all want to just talk to everybody. We all want to just save everybody, but you can't do that, can you? You have to be very specific and magnetic in your messaging to actually hit your target audience. Now, as it happens, our target audience are very similar, aren't they? Mine's business owners, and yours is specifically female business owners. But that's fine, right? There's plenty of customers out there for all of us, haven't we? Some people have said to me, why do you have people on here that do similar things to you? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't I? Because there's millions of people out there that I can't serve them all, can I? You can't serve them all. And someone might resonate with me, but not you, and vice versa. So it doesn't matter, does it? It's about finding the therapist or coach that actually works for you.
I agree with that. And that's abundance. That is the belief that literally there is enough clients out there, there's enough money out there. And when I was in like the teaching world, I only saw the teaching world. I didn't realise that outside of that world, there is literally an abundance of money everywhere. Like literally everywhere. And in the world I've kind of walked into, I'm seeing it everywhere all the time. So there's just abundance. Like when we talk about air, we don't say, oh, is there not enough air for me to breathe? We just know that there's enough air. And if you're thinking of everything else, with clients, with money, it's raising your vibration. It's getting on the frequency of it. It's getting really crystal clear with what you actually want. And I think this is a massive thing that I think there's two things here. A lot of people aren't being crystal clear with what they want when they want to manifest something into their life. But a core reason with that is they're in survival mode. So they don't really know what they want because they don't slow down to tap into what they actually want. And that's how society is geared up to make people be on this kind of hamster wheel.
So
where
that, aren't you, the whole time?
100%. And then you're living for your pension. And then when you've got your pension, you've got this pension, which really, I'll be honest, even the teacher's pension, they say it's really good. I was in a teacher's pension talk a while back, and I was like, is that it? Like, so like 68 for this amount of money, and then it's like, now go live your life. But what if you lived your life the whole way through?
Absolutely.
And that's
totally
different things for different people, because I know that some people, like, their dream job is teaching. For other people, their dream job is being a banker. Like, everyone has their different dream jobs, and that's amazing. That's incredible. And as long as you really love what you do, there will be days that aren't so great, but that's normal. We're all human. But it's loving what you do, and that, I guess, that makes you unstoppable as well. When you love what you do and you show up for yourself. And let's be honest, there's days where things just get on top of you or get too much, and the emotions get too much. And I would just say, embrace the emotions. You need to cry. You need to scream. It's human nature. It's normal. And I don't know about you, but I find online sometimes there is definitely toxic positivity where you have to be positive and happy all the time. And if you're not happy, you can't manifest. And it is the biggest lie ever, because it's taken away from the fact that we're human, that we get upset, that we have bad times. And that's natural and normal. You have to embrace the emotion, never hold it down.
And the thing about that as well is you can manifest negativity as well, can't you? If your vibration is really low, that's when, if your vibration is on the floor, that's when you attract, if you're negative, you attract negativity, don't you? It's only when your vibe is up that you start getting the abundance, and whether that be money, happiness, love, whatever, you have to raise your vibration. I didn't know any of that, did you, a few years ago?
Do you know what? When I got into this about 27, into the manifesting, I read the book The Secret. I started delving into it a little bit more. Love The Secret. It's a very, do you know what? It's such a brilliant book, but it's so much more complex than just The Secret, that like attracts like.
Yeah.
And I think something that I found really helpful as well is when we talk about raising the vibration, and what resonates as well with other people, with to raise your vibration, you have to heal your vibration. So rather than, you can say it in both ways, it is about raising your vibration. You naturally do it when you heal the vibration. You heal the traumas, you heal the subconscious blocks, you heal like the mother wounds or the inner child. And I feel like that sometimes resonates with people more, because they feel like raising their vibration, for some people, they panic and they think, oh, am I not good enough? And that's not what manifestation is about. It's actually removing the belief that you don't think you're good enough. And so when you heal that vibration and you do like the work, the amazing, incredible work that you do, and the healing that comes with it, you're naturally going to raise your vibration. And when you do that, you are unstoppable. You're incredible. And
absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with that. And I kind of experienced that a little bit earlier on in the year when my loofah died. My vibration just went through the floor because I was grieving. He was my therapy dog. He was part of our identity, because being such a big dog, no one was bothered about talking to us. It was always like, drawn to Luther because he was so handsome and so huge. But when we lost him, it was like, we felt like we'd lost our identity as well. And I was only like my first year in my business still, and I was doing all right, like beginning of it. And then when that happened, my sales just like went, I'm being a bit open here, but I won't lie. 1 month I got a big fat zero, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? But then I had to learn that I needed to grieve, and I needed to embody what was happening to me, and I needed to release. And I'd never really done that. And I don't know about you, and probably a lot of people watching this, like, we all know that we're supposed to meditate, right? And I do meditate, but up until like the last 6 months or so, I would say I paid a little bit of lip service to it. So I would do it and be very chuffed with myself and put a tick in the box that I'd done it that day. But I wasn't really fully invested in it, shall we say. And it's only now where I think, when you do a lot of training and you keep repeating it, and then eventually you go, oh my God, I get it. Oh my God. And all this information just drops down, and eventually it just lays, and you're like, oh, right, I get what I mean. And one of my clients, after Luther died, registered a star, which I thought was so amazing, right? And when I was on one of my training with Philippa and Bertie, they was doing a grounding exercise, and they was like, right, I want you to imagine your favourite star. And I suddenly went, oh my goodness, I've got a star, I've got Luther's star. And then all of a sudden I could connect. And it was like, I was so chuffed with myself, and I'd done it once, and then I couldn't do it for a while, but then I kept on trying. And now I can like connect to him, and I know I've connected because I go a bit, I don't know, sort of like twitchy, or not twitchy, fuzzy, I suppose. And then I sneeze a little bit. But someone said to me, that's a release. That's where you're letting go. I don't know if that's true. I think it is a bit true, but yeah. But do you know what I mean? I mean, how when did you really realise that this was a real thing?
Firstly, I love the story about the stars. And isn't it interesting that in your training they mentioned a star, and your client had bought you a star before, and there was no connection, but there was a connection?
Yeah.
Like, it's these synchronicities that everything is constantly happening. It's so powerful. So my first thing that I kind of, I guess, manifested into my life, because you are manifesting 24/7 whether you realize it or not, was my husband. And so I'd come out at 27, it's 27, 5 years ago, I'd come out of a toxic relationship, and I had a lot of healing to do from that. And that's when I read the book, The Secret. And I really got into it. And at that point, all I really wanted was a loving relationship. It's what I desired more than anything. I was happy with my career, I was happy with everything else, but I really wanted this loving relationship. But I didn't love myself at all. My mental health was at rock bottom. I really struggled with it. And so I had to do a lot of healing, a lot of work. And actually, when I started my business, what I thought I had healed, I had to then re-look at re-healing it, because a lot of it came back up. And that's normal with healing. It's like a yo-yo sometimes. You think you've got there and you're like, yes. And then something will challenge you or trigger it, and then you have to get curious and start looking at it again. So I read the book, and then I started doing things. I was like, right, okay, let me work on me and start to love myself and speak kindly to myself. Have you ever heard of the Dr. Emoto experiment about the water?
Maybe, but tell me, because tell everyone anyway. It doesn't matter whether I know about it.
It's really powerful. So basically, Dr. Emoto put these, he got the same water and he put them in these jars. And I'm probably not doing this justice, but just type in Dr. Emoto on YouTube. And what he did is there was filtered water. It was all in these jars. And then he put words on them. So on one, he put like love. On another, he put, I want to kill you. And another, it was like trust or hope. And then what he did is he froze the water, and then he looked at the crystals of the water. And what had happened was the water that had love on was so beautiful. It's like a snowflake type shape. And the water that had like, I want to hurt or kill, I think the word was, it wasn't at all. It was completely different, like really horrible shape. And it was showing and demonstrating the power that your words have in you, because our bodies are made up of 70% water. And so when we say things to ourselves like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I don't like me, you can see how suddenly things can start to spiral and your thoughts begin to spiral, and then you feel really rubbish about yourself, and then your behaviours, you're not going to show up for yourself. So at one point in my life, I started sleeping a lot, and sleeping was a coping mechanism for not having to think. And so I literally would go to work, and then I'd get straight into bed and sleep, and then wake up, go to work. And the pressure of stuff affects your eating. And so back to the story. I've kind of gone off track, but the experiment is powerful in showing how you speak to yourself. So I started speaking to myself in a more positive way. I started really focusing on how I was talking to myself. I started embracing the emotion, because I'd pushed it down for so long. I started exercising more. I've always exercised, but I was doing it even more and more intentionally. There was more intention behind things. I started becoming aware of who I was hanging around with, how they were speaking about things, about even like looking at the money. I started looking at the money element, and with the money element, I was really stressed about money all the time. So I started doing the money mindset work, and from doing all the personal development stuff, I started doing things. So these are my top tips for attracting love into your life. So first of all, learn to love yourself, and it's a process. And then what I would do, this is going to sound so silly to some people, but it worked, is I had a double bed, and I would only sleep on one side of the bed, so the other side was left for my husband that I didn't yet have. And it was the randomest story. I love this story. This was during the pandemic, and so everything went online. I was coaching yoga online, and he came onto one of my yoga classes, and I'd known of him before, and he had a dog, and I'd actually, like, our family dog, when I was living at home, we'd lost our dog, and so we were just talking about dogs, and the conversation just continued, and he kept coming onto it, and then we're talking about chakras, and he was asking me questions about it, and then he said, when we can, do you want to go for a walk? no intention, nothing behind it. So when you're allowed to go walking, we went walking. Within I think it was 4 months, we'd moved in together. 2 months later, we'd got a second dog together. We rescued her. And this is crazy. This is like the craziest of the crazy. This was before the second lockdown. And so the shelters shut and you couldn't get the dogs from the shelters. And we picked her up a day before that second lockdown came in. And I was just like, you know, when everything is meant to be.
Yeah.
And then we got married in August. So that's like my big story of manifestation. But I feel like anyone can manifest anything. It's just getting really crystal clear on what you want. And a massive part of it is healing, learning to love yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Because when I work with my clients, well, when I did like my Marissa Peer training, this is what she always said as well. Because most people, and you probably know this as well from your clients, all the limiting beliefs are pretty much the same. Like, I'm not good enough. I felt different, and I felt unlovable. They're the main core ones. And it doesn't really matter what situation you've all got, it'll come down to them. I was doing a client today, actually. I worked with him a few times. Funny enough, we've done money mindset. I can't remember what we did the first time, but this time we was doing about weight, because that was his next thing that he wanted to work on. But when we went back, because I regressed clients back under hypnosis to the scenes, and I gave them a quiz to fill out first about eating habits, and one of them was what was it? Oh, anyway, I can't remember now. But anyway, I regressed him back to these scenes, and he suddenly just had this eureka moment that he was very much an emotional eater, and it all kind of went back to not being good enough in his whole. He went back to, I think, when he was 23, where he created a part in his stomach, a pit of his stomach, and that was there to protect him, and it was about to stop making a fool of himself. And every time he felt emotional, to go and eat. And this is why a lot of the time diets don't work, because you have to change the little switch that goes on in here, don't you? But it was all around not being good enough. He spent his whole career trying to be someone that he thought he ought to be, and he's actually really, really successful, but he was comparing himself to so many other people, and he lost sight of who he actually is. And I think that's quite common, isn't it? We're too busy looking at the Joneses, as I used to, keeping up with the Joneses, wasn't it? And worrying about what everyone else thinks about you. But actually, the only one that should worry about anyone is you. And as long as you love yourself and you feel safe and you feel secure, it doesn't really matter, because the rest will come. And like you're saying about relationships, if you haven't healed your heart, then don't be surprised if you keep attracting the wrong type of person, because your vibration going out there is, I'm not good enough, so I might as well just attract all those ones that aren't good enough either. And then you go, that's a bit of a repeating pattern, isn't it, when I have disaster after disaster?
100%. And I love what you said about your client there. And I feel when it comes to diets, when it comes to weight loss, it isn't about, like, I don't think diets work. And something I picked up on, I heard that I thought was really powerful. Instead of using the phrase, I want to lose weight, because lose comes from this kind of scarcity mindset, instead say, I want to maintain the weight I'm at. And then by maintaining the weight you're at, you already have your ideal weight. And then it's, how would that person show up? What would you be eating? How would you be exercising? And when you're already doing it and you put yourself in that person, it's easier to then work with it, because I think a lot of people want to see the results before they believe it's possible, and that doesn't happen. You have to become the person before you see the results. And when you see this, I've seen it scattered online so many times, at first it didn't make sense to me, but all it is creating new habits that serve your vision. And to create these new habits, it is about shifting your thought pattern, it is about changing your feelings. Because, and I don't know if you would agree with this, because a lot's done on thoughts. I believe that you cannot think how you do not feel. So it's, the feeling is so important. So if you're feeling really sad and you're trying to think happy thoughts, it's not going to work, because the subconscious mind, it loves feeling, emotions are simply energy and motion, and you can't pretend to your subconscious, even in your conscious mind. If you think everything's all right but you're not seeing results in reality, there's something under the surface that's not working. And that's when, like with your client, that powerful transformation they had. And so it's creating these new habits, shifting your identity, and then you will start to see the results that you want to see. And so I've lost my train of thought. I got so into it. I've lost my train of thought with what I was talking about.
You just
Do you
said,
know what I mean?
what you said was really good, and I do absolutely agree with that. And that's the thing, because we have to remember that our body is our subconscious mind. It is mind, body, and soul, right? And when people get sick and they've got all these illnesses, they go, "Oh, it's because of this." No, it's not. It's because your body hasn't been able to express itself because you haven't released your feelings and emotions. So it's storing it in your body, and it's manifesting into disease. So your body is at dis-ease, so it causes disease.
Absolutely. And I truly believe, this isn't, I'm not a scientist, but I think stress is going to be the biggest, it's going to come out pretty soon that stress is the biggest cause of illness.
I think it already is. I think they say it's the biggest killer, stress.
Oh, have they come out and said it? Oh,
yeah.
I definitely think it is. So many people are so stressed, and stress then leads to loads of other problems. And I do think, in regards to like mental health, I think there's been a lot that's already been, like, there is a lot of good things that are going on, but I still feel like there is a stigma sometimes when people come out and talk about it, and there is still more that I feel that could be done, so people feel comfortable to be able to say, I struggled with this, because still a lot of people feel a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, and they're really powerful emotions attached to it, and so they'll never speak to anybody about it because they think it makes them look weak, and it doesn't at all. So I think there's still a massive area, and I'd like to hope in the next like 5-10 years people are able to come out. I think a lot more people can, and I think there's amazing work that's been done. I still think there's a lot to do.
Yeah, and exactly right. And that's why it doesn't matter that me and you have got a similar audience, because there's so many stressed business owners out there. And that's what I focus on with my clients now. You know, like, I mean, I used my target audience was women in the prime of life before when I first started, but then it evolves, doesn't it? And we evolve as therapists and coaches and stuff. So now my main target audience, but obviously I can work with anyone really, as you can, but obviously we have to have a focus. But it is working with business owners and professionals. I'm not sure if I'm going to say that or not, but anyway. But the first thing I work with my clients on now is addressing the stress and overwhelm. So I give them tools and techniques to start off with, like breathing techniques and different ways to just actually just hold on, just calm it down. Let's just see where we are, and then go in and have a look at what their presenting issues are, and then go and crack on and find those root causes. And this is why I love what I do, because it is so fast. Once you can pinpoint that limiting belief, you get rid of it there and then. And then the way it works is, once I've done that session, then they get their recording, and that embeds the new powerful beliefs there, so that you've got rid of that old limiting belief, but you're putting some new ones in its place. So then you're more abundant, and, you know, living your best life and becoming unstoppable, which is where this name come from, right? But it's about, you've got to take a look at yourself, and if you want to make change happen, you can go and buy all the books you want, you can listen to all the podcasts you want and watch whatever, and that's all great. I'm not denying that at all. But sometimes you need some help. Sometimes you need a professional therapist and coach to really help you nail it and really get to the root of what you want, and ask those questions, because most of us don't really know what they want, do they? And it's asking those real deep dive questions. What would your life be like then if you didn't have anxiety? Really dig deep. What would you be doing that you can't do now? What life of abundance could you live? And that's the thing. Yeah, imagination is the most powerful tool we have. Yet we're all adamant about using it in a negative way. By fear, stress, overwhelm, anxiety. They're all fears of us using our imagination against us. Whereas visualization, manifestation is using your imagination for you, isn't it?
100%. Like when you visualize something, can you really feel it? When you get it, it already kind of feels normal because we've already felt it so many times before. But you're right, you have to take action. This is the key part. People, when the people hear the word manifest, they think, what a load of woo-woo. And there's absolutely the spiritual side, but you've got to take action. You can't just sit around and like,
I want this, and do nothing.
Like the time's going to just turn up on your drive. When you start working on your money mindset, you will start to see changes. And like I've had gifts gifts of money coming into my bank account and stuff that have been so unexpected and amazing, and that happens. But if you want to make more money, what value are you going to add to make more money? Because there will be like things that do happen, but you've got to go out there and you've got to do it. If you want the brand new car, okay, what are you going to do to get the car? If you want the house, what are you going to do to get the house? You have to take action, and I think most people don't. And that is normally not because they're lazy, because I don't necessarily think a lot of people are lazy at all. I think it's because they're scared. They're scared and they're stuck in their ways, and therefore they procrastinate. And procrastination is just the fear, and you're avoiding the feelings. And so then you've got to get curious and be like, well, why am I avoiding these feelings? What am I actually scared of? It's like anxiety. Anxiety is the fear of fear.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you put it like that, you think
what might happen or might not happen.
Yeah, and I'm so guilty of this. In the past, I've struggled with really bad anxiety, and at one point I was having like not loads, but it led to like panic attacks and stuff. And when you see it now, there's still times I get anxiety about things, and I have to work my way through it, and I have to talk my way through it, and breathing and yoga, and that really helps. But it's when you can be aware of it. There are always things that are going to crop up for you because we're humans. But the awareness piece is so important. I think once you're aware of something, you can start to change it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to be consciously aware first, and then you can do the work. Yeah.
100%. But I don't know if you agree with this. Sometimes I think that people get comfortable with the pain in the comfort zone. And so to not feel the pain and get out of the comfort zone and go and get the support sometimes can be so scary. And so they stay in the pain, which has become comfortable because it's all they're used to.
Yeah, it's your normal, isn't it? And actually, sometimes it's, even though maybe if you're in a relationship, for example, and it's awful, sometimes it's just easier to do nothing. Because to actually make that change, you've absolutely got to take action, and you've absolutely got to make things happen. And it might not be an appealing thought, mightn't it? But eventually you need to do it, because life is too short to be living in a life that you don't like, and you're not happy, and you're getting more and more depressed. What's the point of that? Sometimes you just have to face the fear and do it anyway, don't you?
Absolutely. It's like when I first started my business, I was throwing spaghetti against the wall with my content. I was throwing it out there trying to talk to everyone and talking to nobody. And I've invested a lot now in like how to work on my messaging, how to work on my content. I've worked with some fantastic people, and it's still a learning and growing process. And I just thought you could literally write a little post and it would, but it doesn't. You have to really make yourself stand out. And that's when, with a lot of female entrepreneurs, when they go into entrepreneurship and they set up their business, whatever it is, it's that fear. It's that fear of speaking your truth in case people criticize you or judge you. And normally it's going to take you back to school or some memory in your past where somebody has judged you or told you not to speak your truth or been critical of you. And so coming online is a massive change. But nowadays I feel like if you've got a business, you've got to be online, because you are targeting so many people so quickly. And then it's exploring, do you want to use ads? Do you want to do it organically? Do you want to use other people's audiences and work with other people? How do you get visibility? And it's coming from not that world to that world. It's a whole new world. And that brings its own challenges, and it's interesting. But again, it comes back to no matter who you are, it's those blocks, it's those subconscious blocks that you need to release.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I would say that anyone who is in in their job, like whether you're a career person, you're just in a job, or you're thinking about starting a business, or you are a business owner, work on yourself first. get yourself sorted so that you don't have all those fears, because trust me, it will be quicker in the long run, because otherwise you'll get, oh, I'm going to do this, it's going to be amazing, and then straight away something like that will happen and you're like, oh no, I'm not going to do it now, it's too scary. I mean, if I don't know about you, but if I had known what it was going to be like, I probably wouldn't have done it. So I'm glad I didn't, because I'm glad I've done it. Right? But it was, oh yeah, I mean, there were times in the beginning and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Because I've been institutionalized, same as you, like institutionalized in the corporate world. You just get told what to do and you do it, or not. Depends how naughty you are. But and all of a sudden, you're sitting, like in my case, in my room at home, and I'm like, well, what am I doing? That's why I invested in coaching, because I didn't know the first thing about setting a business up. And I know I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't invested in business coaches and I hadn't invested in my own self-development. There's no way I would be doing, I certainly wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now, because, well, a couple of years ago I didn't even know what Instagram was, for one thing. But so it's like, it does make me chuckle, because when I first started, I had private Facebook, which I used to post a few pictures of my dog, or if we went on holiday or something. LinkedIn, where I used to get my jobs from, so I only ever went on there when I was looking for a job, to having business LinkedIn, business Facebook, Instagram Live, and now my own YouTube channel, which, by the way, Milicide Therapy and Coaching on YouTube. You can go and watch all my Become Unstoppable interviews, plus there's many client short video testimonials and client interviews as well on there, and some short videos. So get yourself over there, go and have a look. Please like and subscribe so I can get my numbers up. But anyway, my lovely, we have been on here nearly 45 minutes.
Oh, we can talk.
Right. So just before we go, do you want to just let everyone know how they can find you and what kind of things you could provide for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So my main port of call is actually Instagram. It's Maria Therese, THERESE _manifestation. That's where I mainly hang out. And so I'm really excited, because actually coming up in November, I'm running a 4-week Magnetic Money Queen. It's all to do with money mindset and feeling safe to receive more money. So more details about that. So if that's of interest to you and you think, do you know what, I need to really work on my energetics around money so I can actually make more money, then do follow along, give me a DM. There'll be more details announced. Otherwise, minus that, I do most of my coaching and unconscious mind therapy is one-to-one, which I absolutely love. So just follow me on Instagram, and then there's different clicks to my website, mariatheresecoaching.com. And yeah, so it's been amazing. Thank you so much for having me on today.
You're welcome.
It's been lovely.
Yeah, it's been lovely catching up with you again. And yeah, we'll talk again very soon. And it's really been nice seeing you, and I hope everyone's enjoyed the interview. And for those that don't know me, as you can find me here obviously on Instagram, on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I at the moment do all one-to-ones, but I shall be creating a group program by the end of the year. All well and good. And then that way you can serve people more at one time, because there's only one of us, isn't there? So to do one-to-many, we can serve more people and get some fantastic results. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I shall see you all next week with another amazing guest, which, as usual, I'm not going to tell you who it is because I can't remember, but they will be amazing, because I only ever have amazing, unstoppable guests on here. If you're a business owner actually and you have an unstoppable story, or you don't even have to be a business owner, but if you've got an unstoppable story that you'd like to share, then please contact me and we can have a discussion about that too. So I'm always looking for new guests. So thank you so much for coming on, my lovely, and I'll see you very soon, and bye for now.
See you later. Thank you so much. Bye everyone.